In this video, I'm going to show you how to align your website's design elements with your business branding. The first thing I'm going to do is show you a test page that I've created so that you can see what the default colors and styling is that Elementor gives you. So when you create a page, if you don't make any changes to it and you just add the content in that you want, it's going to look something like this. These are the colors and styling that you will get. So look, it's wonderful, but it absolutely does not reflect my brand at all. Now, on every page that you create throughout your website in WordPress, you can go through and edit all of these elements as you like. You can click on the element you'd like to change. For example, if I want to change this heading, you can click here, come across to the style section, and I can actually come in here, click on this little color picker and change the color of that heading. It's really quick and easy to do that, but there is a quicker and easier way or a better way to do it. I can also click on the global icon here and choose from these default colors. But this is what we're going to change. So we're going to make these default colors become your default colors for your business branding. So the first thing we're going to do is actually go back to the WordPress dashboard because we need to update some of the settings for Elementor first. So hover over the Elementor link and click on settings. And what we want to do is we want to disable the default colors and fonts that Elementor are using because we don't want to use their colors. We want to implement our own across the entire site. Now we're going to go back to the page. So you can access these default settings from any page within WordPress. To change the global settings, we come up here to site settings, click on this link here. Now, any changes that we make in here are going to apply across your entire website. So that's a pretty cool feature. The first thing we're going to do is look at the global colors. Now, these are the colors that you could see when we were on the page editing the heading, and we want to change these to be our own colors. If you don't know what your own branding color codes are, you can come in here still and click on this and use this color picker to try and match the color as best you can. But obviously, if you know the exact color code for your branding, that's going to be the best way to go about it. So I'm going to go ahead and get the color codes for my branding and click on the icon, paste in the code that I want, click out of it, and then do the same for all of the other colors here. I've got an accent color as well, and I don't want it to be green. Now for the text, I want all of the text to be black. You've also got the option to add some custom colors, so you can click on add color, and I'm going to choose white as one of my custom colors, and you can rename it here if you'd like. Add another custom color and rename it. And as with everything in WordPress, you need to make sure that you save your changes. Now when I click to the back arrow here, it's actually going to show us a preview of what's happening on our page. You can see that it's looking a little bit better now. It's applied some of my branding colors to the page, but it's still not quite right. We've still got a few things not happening the way I would like. But the next thing we're going to change is the global font. So that's what the actual font is that we're using in all of these different sections. So click on global fonts. For now, I'm just going to change the primary font so that you can see the effect that that has, but you can obviously go through and choose a secondary font, the main text font that is used throughout, and you can also choose an accent font, and I'll show you how to apply those throughout as well. So to change the fonts, it's the same thing. We click on this little edit icon, and you've got all of these settings here that you can play around with. So to start with, you can choose another font here. You can, again, if you know the exact font that you want to use, you can go straight to that font. Otherwise, you can just search for something that matches your branding and select that in here. Let's go with Rubik, and I want that font to be extra bold, and I'm going to make it larger as well, so you can change the sizing. And all of these settings can actually be overridden on the individual pages as well. We're just setting a global style that will make it easier to set things to start with. There's a few other things here that you can change, and I might just add an underline because that makes it really easy for us to see the change at the other end. You can also change the letter spacing, which can be quite cool. Again, all of this will just be in line with your business branding. I'm going to save the changes. Now what I'm going to do is apply that font change to the various elements of my page. So we've got different headings and texts around the place. So to do that, we click on the typography button here. And we've got different types of typography in here to change. We've got our body text, links, and the various headings. So headings are set up in a bit of a structure where you've got a top heading, which will be heading 1 or H1. Then the next heading down will be H2, H3, and so on. So if I change the typography of my H1, my first heading or heading 1, this one here is set to a H1. So I'm going to come across here and I want all of my H1 headings to be the primary color, and I want them to have the primary font that we've just created. So you can see how quickly and easily that has updated, and that's going to take effect throughout your whole website. Same with our links. We're going to change the colors and typography of our links. So you can see here is a link, and this is the standard default colors that Elementor has given it, this sort of pinky color, and it changes to, I think, a dark blue when we hover over it. We can set the main color of the link to anything you would like. We can choose from your colors that you've got here. You can also choose a completely random color by using the color picker if you want to, but because we're trying to stick with our branding colors, I'm going to click on the global icon and just go with the primary color to start with. And I want to change let's change the typography here as well to our primary one that we've selected, but I'm going to actually edit that now because I don't want it to be so large. I'm going to bring it down a little bit smaller. I don't want the letter space to be so wide. I don't want it to be so bold either. I'm going to bring that down a little bit. And let's make the size even smaller. That's probably a little bit better. And let's change the color on hover. So when we hover the mouse over it, we want that to change colors. So we click on the hover button here and pick which color we would like it to be. I'm going to change it to the secondary color, so it's just going to go a little bit darker when we hover over it. So you can see that's updated and that's looking a lot better, and it stands out a little bit more now as a link. We can go through and make those changes for all of the headings. For now, I'm just going to go through and change the heading colors so that we can see the effect that that has. You can see this heading has just changed when I updated H2. When I update H3, you can see a couple of H3 headings have changed there. And it's starting to look pretty good now throughout. We've still got this one down the bottom that is not looking amazing, and that one is a H6. So I'm going to update that as well. And click on Save Changes. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to change the appearance of the buttons. So throughout your website, you're likely to be adding buttons for various things. So let's come along here and click on Buttons. So with buttons, obviously there's an action where you hover your cursor over the button and the button will change in some way, whether it changes colors, fonts, size, just about anything you can think of really. And there's going to be buttons throughout your website, so you want to make sure that they're all consistent. So what we're going to do, there are two states of the button here. There's the normal state, which is what you see when you're looking at the button without interacting with it at all, and then there's the hover, so when your mouse hovers over the top of it. So to start with, let's set the normal state for our button. Now here we can change any of these elements of the button here. We're going to start by changing the color of the text, and I'm going to start by adding white to our text. The background, let's add a color, change that to light blue. I don't want any shadow, although actually you can have a shadow there, and you can see that's added a little shadow behind the button, or you can remove that by clicking this button here. If you would like to add a border to your button, you can do that too, and you can change the thickness of the border, the type of the border, adding some double lines. Let's make it a little bit thinner. We'll leave the double lines for now. You can also change the radius, so how curved the corners are, by increasing and decreasing this here. I'm going to add some changes just so that it's easy for you to see those changes as they are happening. You can also change the padding of the button. So make it really thick or thin. Just again, it's all going to be in line with what your branding is and what you're trying to achieve. Now you can see when we hover, it doesn't make much of a change just yet. So we're going to click over here and make some more changes. So I think we'd like that color to change. Yeah, let's have it to orange, just so that's a nice, easy change for us to see. Change it to the secondary color as the background, and the border type, we can probably leave that as it is. Again, we're going to make sure we save all of our changes. And the last thing that we can look at changing for now, or updating across the site, is how our images are going to appear on the website. Now I haven't actually added an image to this page, so I might just quickly do that, and then I'll come back here and show you how to change the images. So I'm going to cross out of here. Okay, so here we are back in the site settings with an image here that we're going to change the appearance of. Click on the images button here, and again you've got a normal and a hover state that you can change. So the border type, you can leave it as default, which is going to give you no border at all. We could add a solid or a double border. Let's go with a double border just to match the one that we did on the button up above. And change the thickness of the border, change the color of the border. Let's go with white, might make that even thicker. And again, you can change the radius of the border as well to add a bit of a curve on there as well. So there's plenty of things that you can change. You can change the opacity of your images, which might come in handy from time to time. I'm going to leave it at number 1 though. And again, you can add a bit of a shadow behind that as well. Gives it a little bit more of a dynamic look, a bit of a 3D look. Save your changes, and then those changes that you can see here are going to apply site-wide. Again, when you're editing your pages, you can go through and change those elements, remove some of those things as you go. But essentially, that's it. So now when you're building your website, you're going to have consistent branding throughout. Good luck, and I'll see you in the next lesson.